Speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, another Tyranid Learning Curve video for you today, and another HQ choice. So we're going to look at the Tyranid Prime. Now the model in front of you that you can see is basically my little conversion that I did. It's made from a Warrior. It's fully magnetized, so I can actually make this into a Warrior if I want to. But at the moment, of course, I've got him in the Tyranid Prime version. So stat wise, this guy's going to set you back 125 points. He has a pretty decent stat line. He's weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 4, he's strength 5 and toughness 5, he has 3 wounds, he's initiative 5, 4 attacks base, he's leadership 10, and he has a 3+ save. Now, as standard, he comes complete with Devourer and Scything Talon. So he devours an 18-inch gun, strength 4 with 3 shots, and as I said, a set of Scything Talons. He's a Synapse creature, of course, which means he knows Shadow of the Warp as well. And he's an independent character with a special rule called Alpha Warrior. So basically, any unit of Warriors or Shrike that it joins, they use his weapon skill and his ballistic skill until he dies or until he leaves the unit. Bearing in mind, he is an an independent character. Now, sadly, he's unable to join monstrous creatures, but you are able to join him into obviously other units. And with that Alpha Warrior, it's probably pretty fair to say that Warriors are probably where you're going to be joining this guy. It mentions Shrike, but Shrike move obviously as jump infantry. Not that anyone really uses Shrike nowadays, but if you were going to put it with the Shrike, of course it would really slow down those Shrike. So the Warriors is where it's going to go, and you're going to take advantage of his ballistic skill. So ballistic skill 3, so your Warriors are going to be shooting on 3s rather than 4s, which is pretty useful. Now, as you can see from the model, I don't have the Devourer. I have the option which I always choose, and that's the Lash Whip and Bone Swords. It's a pretty decent option, making your enemy initiative 1 regardless. Obviously that's anyone in base contact. And then he's got the Bone Swords, which AP 3 and instant death on rolls of 6s. Now, I like to arm him as a close combat one because I put him with Warriors generally. We are going to talk about how to use him in a minute, but generally if you are with Warriors, which 9 times out of 10 that's where he's going to go, you know, your Warriors are there, they're going to be shooting, and it's quite nice to have an assault character in that unit of Warriors. So, I mean, Warriors can hold themselves up pretty decent in combat, but putting the Prime in there with the Lash Whip and Bone Sword, that really does help. And he has a reasonable amount of attacks. Now, he is able to take an additional set of Scything Talons for free, Spine Fists and Death Spitter. So if you did want to make him a bit more shooty, you could just go for that Death Spitter. Alternatively, you could drop the gun that he has and take the Scything Talons, giving you 2 sets, that gives you +1. So you've got a few options there. I suppose also you could actually take Rending Claws and a Scything Talon. So you know, there are a few options, but like I said, personally I just find the Bone Sword Lash Whip to be the one to go for. Now, he is one of the very few units in the Codex that can actually take flesh hooks. So basically sort of the NID frag grenade equivalent. It's only 5 points. It's a potential option to take on him if you've got 5 points spare, but certainly not an essential thing to have. He takes the usual options, well, he has available to him the usual options of adrenal glands, toxin sacs, regeneration, acid blood. I never use any of those on him. I just find it's just not really worth the points. And of course he can take all of the additional stuff, like the miasma cannon, etc. I think the only one really out of that list is probably the Norn Crown, which gives him the extra 6-inch synapse range, possibly, but it's still quite expensive. 40 points, that's quite a lot. So obviously we mentioned Warriors. Basically, you're going to enhance your warrior units, make them better at shooting, and giving them a bit of an assault punch as well. So how else are we going to use them? Well, I mentioned that you can't put in with monstrous creatures because potentially that could be quite useful. You know, if you've got a brood of Carnifexes, you could put him with it, but sadly you can't do that. But what you can do is you can use him for other things. So potentially you could just take him the cheapest way possible with no upgrades, and maybe stick him at the back in a unit of Biophors, giving those Biophors synapse range, so just enabling them to shoot every single turn. You could potentially put him with a unit of Gants as well, just giving them some synapse range, some Hormigants or Termagants. You know, that potentially is an option. But obviously you won't be using your Alpha Warrior special rule, which is, you know, for 125 points, you are going to be paying some of those points for that particular feature to make your warriors better. Obviously, if you are going more assault warriors, I think most of us do go for shooting warriors, but if you are, you know, one of those people that like to go assault warriors, then he can fit into those quite nicely as well, using his weapon skill. So don't forget his weapon skill 6, so that is pretty decent. So overall, he's pretty decent unit. He's fairly cheap if you compare him to maybe some of the other HQ choices that we have. You still have to make way for him if you are using a normal CAD. You know, like we've said before, there's some pretty decent HQ units, in particular the Flyrants, the Hive Tyrants with wings. But if you want to keep it cheap and in lower points games, in sort of swarm type lists, then the Tyranid Prime certainly is a fairly decent option as a HQ choice. So yeah, I think it's a thumbs up to Tyranid Prime really. He isn't as good as he used to be in the last codex, but I don't like to discuss things like that because, you know, that was the last codex. It's irrelevant really. You know, we are where we are with the current rule set, so let's keep it at that. Okay, so I think that's it for the Tyranid Prime. Next up is the Death Leaper, the last of the HQ choices. So watch out for that video. Right, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.